keep us on time. So, so what I would say is, for the presenters, we've got excellent budget analysts. We're pretty familiar, so you can hit the highlight, like the major things that you have for us and that you think we would be have questions about, and go from there. I will say, looking at our schedule just for that, AOC, for whatever reason, was only allotted 15 minutes. It'll take longer than that. So you can kind of think that that's probably going to be 25 minutes in that. So when we get to them, we'll push them. That's what we'll pencil in on that. So we'll get started with capital post-conviction, please. And if you have any handouts, we'll take those. It's all right. Thank you. All yours.
I know you love to see lawyers coming.
Oh, I'm chairman of Judiciary A, so there's lawyers everywhere. I know, that's right, we are.
Okay, I'm Chrissy Noble. I'm the director of the Office of Capital Post-Conviction. Here with me.
All right, pull the microphone closer. People are listening online, so.
Here with me is Denise DeRossett, who helps us with our budget in case there are any budget specific questions. This is also important to us. Two of our attorneys, Beth Wyndham and Tamika Bennett, are both also here as well. I've been the director of this office for about 4 years. I'd like to just spend a little bit of time talking about what our office does and highlight some of the cases that we currently have going on. I will start by saying that since I've been involved with this office, either as the director or as a staff attorney before that, the Mississippi legislature has adequately funded the office to allow us flexibility from year to year to constitutionally represent our clients. And that's just what we're asking for again this year.
I will interrupt you and say, I think y'all do a very good job. And for people that, like you said, have constitutional rights, we all do. And so it's necessary, and I think y'all do a good job. So,
well, thank you. That really does mean a lot. We represent pretty much everyone on death row at some point, unless there's a conflict. So co-defendants, perhaps, but we represent them in their state post-conviction proceedings. When we can, when there's not a conflict, we represent them in their federal court habeas proceedings. And then we also have authority to represent them in any ancillary matters that bear upon their conviction or their sentence. So something like clemency, we do as well. We represent our folks until they're off death row, and that could be by natural causes they die, until we get them a life without parole sentence, if it's an innocence case, until they're released, or until and then through their execution. And when we're talking about post-conviction, you know, the best way to do it is like you hear about it in the news all the time. Someone's exonerated or someone had an illegal sentence and their illegal sentence is corrected. That's what we're talking about. That's what we do pretty much all day in and day out. In Mississippi, we have had 7 exonerations from Mississippi's death row in just the modern era of our death penalty. And one thing we currently have is we have 4 actual innocence cases pending. So we have 3 of those pending in the Mississippi Supreme Court, and 1 is pending in the federal court in the Southern District of Mississippi. And those 3 of the 4 are actually involve false forensics. So some of the cases involve false forensics when it comes to microscopic hair analysis, tool mark evidence, and ballistics issues. And then the most recent innocence case we have filed is a case challenging shaken baby syndrome, which is going on really around the country right now. So we have 4 of those. Those take multitude of experts. I would say all of those cases have 3 to 5 experts. Most post-conviction cases run about 2 to 6 experts. And that's just because the cases differ so much. And that's why we need flexibility from year to year, depending on what kind of cases come through the office at that particular time. We also need flexibility just because I can't always predict when we're going to get a case. And that's not just when we're going to get a case, like when we're going to get appointed, but I can't always predict when there's going to be this, change in science, when someone like the President's Council, like they did in 2020, is going to release some new report. And I can't always predict when the court's going to change course on a legal issue that's going to make our client have grounds to challenge their conviction or sentence based on that new legal issue. So one, I think, really good example to show why we need the flexibility and to say that we had the flexibility in this particular case is back in October of 2023, we were appointed to represent a client. And 3 weeks later, the beginning of November, the state moved to set its execution date. So before I had met my client, he had a motion to set his execution date pending. Because we did have the flexibility to expend funds, we were able to get the experts in and the experts in and paid by the end of that year, which allowed him constitutional representation to get a post-conviction petition on file by the end of the year. So sometimes things do come across like that I just don't have foresight that that's gonna happen. And so I really do appreciate all of the flexibility that the legislature's given us throughout the years.
Didn't we recently have an execution?
In 2025, we had two.
Two. Right. Were they, just curious, they were clients?
They were.
Okay.
Yeah, we were, Beth and I were at both of the executions. And they were both longtime clients. We went through the clemency process with them, as well as the post-conviction process, as well as up to the United States Supreme Court.
Okay. Yes, that's great. And so are you asking for any additional over LBR?
The only thing that we are going to mention over the LBR is that in the past, we've had the ability to use any excess special fund that has remained in the account for years back from when we had criminal assessments, and we have not had to use that. And so it's still in our cash balance. And so what we would like is just if there's any cash balance left at the end of FY26 to have authority in the appropriation to continue spending authority in that special fund. At this point, we're not really sure. If I was doing the estimate as a budget officer, I would say we're probably going to have that money still available for the entire amount. But as Chrissy has said, there's times that we don't know what's going to happen. And a lot of times our expert witnesses don't give us our invoices until they've completed all of the work. And so we'll have a huge influx of invoices at the end of the fiscal year. We also did not have the funding for the new salaries in FY26. The attorneys in this agency are tied to the district attorney salaries, and that wasn't funded for FY26. But we had enough flexibility that we think we're going to be fine to cover that. Those salaries went into effect in January.
Okay.
I can see that look on your face, but yes. So they went into effect in January. They are in the LBR for FY27 fully funded. And so we don't have any request over that in the salary line item. We're fine, but we just weren't sure with that increase in salaries in FY26 not being funded and not knowing what our expenses are going to be, if we're going to use that whole special fund or not.
Yeah, I will say we have two bigger recent cases that we just got appointed on. So initial post-conviction cases, and we should be appointed on yet another one as of next week, actually. So we do have some new ones, brand new cases coming in.
And that's why you need the flexibility.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll say one more thing, if you don't mind.
No, please.
This agency is very fiscally responsible. And if they don't need the money, they don't spend it. And they've lapsed general funds in the last 2 years. So giving them the
Be
flexibility.
careful. You may set the tone for other agencies. Heaven
Well,
forbid.
Well, we don't want to do that to another agency, nor do we want to set the tone that you would reduce our general fund because we've been lapsing money, but we do need that flexibility.
Okay. Thank you. I think that's a very good presentation. Questions by anyone? Well,
Thank you guys. I appreciate
you
it.
have your information and your requests and all that. So that's great.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What What I think I'm gonna do, if it's okay with the folks in the audience, is I do see Tom out there and take ethics now, and then we'll do the court, if that's okay. So if you're, which, Tom, y'all are welcome to stay through the court. But we'll take y'all, we'll go to ethics now. Oh, is he not here? I'm sorry, I was. Okay, I'm sorry. We're getting the, Tom, we're getting the budget analyst over the, so we can get, yeah, a couple minutes. Thank you. Okay, it's all y'all. It, you can make that assumption. Or put another way, we haven't provided the increase. Okay. And the realignment is realigned to what, or for the, oh, yeah, right. Yeah, I'm sorry. In other words, people that you don't have a database of everybody that's filed or in the past or who should file? And when you say supposed to file, that would be based on whatever jobs are in state government. Okay. Sorry.
Thank you for that reminder. Appointed officials at the state level have to file, and there's not a comprehensive list of those. So this is not going to be a magic bullet. It's not going to completely fix that problem all at once, but it gives us a tool to move forward on encouraging everybody to file. So we're repeating that request again from previous years. And then finally, we have a part-time lawyer, very highly qualified lawyer who we've contracted with for a number of years to be the hearing officer in our public records and open meetings cases. She's an independent contractor. She charges by the hour. It is a very modest rate based on the rate the AG's office paid outside counsel about 10 or 15 years ago. So we're getting a bargain there. But because we pay her by the hour, she can only do as much work as we have money for. We get more of these complaints than we used to, and they are more complex than they used to be. And so we've developed a backlog, and the three of us work together on that backlog, but Ross and I have other duties. We have about 5 or 6 areas of jurisdiction. That's just a couple of them. So if we had more money to pay the hearing officer, she could work more cases. We could get out from under the backlog, and that's why we're asking for additional funds for that contract. There's a little footnote at the bottom. If you look in our budget request, it shows that we had a $22,000 lapse at the end of last fiscal year. That is not correct. Y'all probably know better than I do that there were problems with Magic, particularly at the end of last fiscal year that DFA warned us of. And so I just want to let everybody know we are a small agency. I know that's not a big number for most folks, but our actual lapse figure was much less than that. I ran that expenditure report again earlier this week, and it gives me the same figure. I don't know what the correct figure is. I just know that figure is too high. So I don't want anybody to think we did not need the money that was appropriated for us last year. If y'all have any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer them. Otherwise, I'd like to turn it over to our chairman if that's okay with you.
I will let Chairman Hobson. I think he has a question or questions.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And first of all, Mr. Hood, thank you for your years of faithful service and quick responsiveness to important ethics issues that have come up from any number of elected groups and people throughout the state. So thank you for that. And I'm glad to see you've got your distinguished board chair here and Ben Stone, former senator from Harrison County, who has, I don't know how many years you've been at it, Ben, but thank you for your service here in the Capitol and there at the Ethics Commission. So, and I look forward to hearing from you. I do want to comment, or I do want to ask a couple of questions real quickly. One is on the salary realignment. Is that moving from minimum to market? Is that 149,000 or is the 149,000? Do you know if that's getting you to, have y'all fallen behind on the minimum? Is that getting you up?
That's a great question. It's a difficult question to answer. The shortest answer is these numbers were provided to us before SEC squared, and these are the maximums under this total here is a request is based on the maximum under those 8-year-old numbers. I did ask for SBB for another set of numbers after SEC squared, it was extremely complex. Instead of one target for each position, there were about 7 numbers for each position. And so in constant, I know Russell was, I think, not working there, was not our analyst at the time, but I did ask for advice on how to deal with that. And nobody I talked to could come up with a good solution or answer about which number to pick. So that's why we just reverted to these old numbers that we already had.
We've got time, and between you and Russell and Corbin and myself, we'll figure that out. Second thing is, I noticed, is this a typo or is this correct that, in my notes that y'all are requesting $20 for fuel and food?
Yes,
I
sir.
noticed that too. I noticed that too.
Yeah, I was like, is that, did we leave off a zero or took a couple of zeros, or is that
No,
correct?
sir. The system, Russell, again, please correct me if I'm wrong. If there's any increase in your request, the system requires you to explain that. And frankly, it's easier to explain $20 than to go back and subtract the $20 from the 10 places you have to do that and make it balance in the.
I just
in
wish
the
all the agencies
OBRS.
would come ask for $20. We'd be in good shape if they only asked for $20.
Yes, sir. I think so. And to be honest, if we don't get that $20, I think we'll survive.
Okay.
I'd also like to add, since you mentioned Ben Stone's tenure, he is the longest continually serving member of any ethics commission in the United States. And he was recognized by the lieutenant governor a few years ago for his length of service.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Ben Stone, and thank you too, Tom.
Yes, sir.
Before we get to the honorable esteemed wise Ben Stone, Tom, I have a question. On the database, it says, or in your notes, it was provided, the legislature provided 10,000 a few years ago, and then you went back and did the 25,000 estimate. Has that 10,000 been spent?
No,
Where is it?
no,
Okay,
it
so
lapsed.
It
It
lapsed.
lapsed.
Is it in a bank account? Did we send it back, or do we know?
I'm sure you just got a better answer to that than I could provide. I just put that
But
note.
y'all
in there.
never spent it, is the.
Correct. We never spent it. And I put that note in there because I think in a year or two ago, I think there was some confusion somewhere about why we didn't spend that money. I think it's important to know why we only asked for 10,000, why we came back and asked for 20,000, and why we never spent the 10,000. It was all, and it's nobody's fault. Frankly, I called ITS to a guy who had helped us build that system and asked him what would the do not exceed amount be. He gave me $10,000. When we got the $10,000 and I called back to another guy who had helped build the system, he said the first guy had retired in the meantime, and I don't know where he came up with that number because we've run the numbers and here's your written quote for 25,000. So it's nobody's fault. Nobody's trying to hide the ball. There's nobody to blame there at ITS. It's just one of those things that happened and it's just delayed the project. But that's the difference or the reason for the discrepancy.
Okay, thank you. Ben, Mr. Stone? And turn the microphone on.
Oh, sorry.
And pull closer.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really appreciate time that you spent letting me do this. I have a great concern for our Ethics Commission and all of the work that we've been doing. We've been able to have a lot of good people. We have a good bit of change, but a lot of good people who serve on the Ethics Commission. We actually have more commissioners than we have employees. But and I'm here today, not just representing myself, but representing them also. They have a desire to do the best they can do and to have employees that do the best they can do. You probably know or have heard of, we change a lot in the Ethics Commission, and we are looking for really good people. And I know you know how Tom is. Ross Hammonds is another lawyer that we have here, and we're really doing well with all of the things that the legislature has given us to do. And all of our employees really work and they work hard. If they don't, we get rid of them. And it's just as simple as that, because that's what we're trying to do. And these people deserve to be paid like other people. I understand the concerns that each of you have with a budget and how you do it every year. Okay, and I certainly understand that, and I understand where it comes from and what you have to do by. But we're looking now to try to get increases in the salaries for all of the people that we have there. And Tom has gone into some detail of it that I don't need to repeat, but what we did was in 18, we had a survey done by the personnel board. We're not under the personnel board, but they did a survey for us. And of course, we've tried to work with that. It's now, including what we have, what we have had in increases, we're still about $150,000 short here for payments and including expenses that go along with that. And what the commission has asked me to do, and what I've take is really a great part of my job, is to try to talk to y'all, let you understand and let you do what you do best with the money that you can do. And so I can tell you that the $150,000 will not go wasted. It'll go to these employees who do really well. We only have 6 employees there, and we have one part-time employee. So we're not just flooding the gates of Mississippi with employees and are with trying to pay people other than what they really deserve. And that's what I'm right here today asking you to do. Give us a consideration. If you don't feel that that's right, I understand that, but I can tell you that the commission really feels strongly about this and asked me to come to deliver that to you. But thank y'all for hearing this, and thank you for listening to all of us. I appreciate it. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Definitely address them for me. Any questions from committee members? I think, I certainly have heard about the realignment and where we are, so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
been
we're
well
like-
heard in that sense.
Yeah.
And yes,
All right.
y'all are not known, as far as I'm concerned, not known to flood us with employees and have overruns and all that good stuff. So,
No, we're not, and we're not going to be known for that too. I could go into the fact, of course, we're not under the personnel board, and that's the reason we didn't get treated like a lot of other places were treated with the SEC square. So we were left out of that. Now, we have had increases, but those are taken into consideration with the $150,000 that we are asking for the additional amount of salaries and benefits.
okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank y'all. Unless there's any more questions, that's it. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming up here,
Oh,
Mr. Stone, and
well, I
being with
enjoy
us.
coming up, seeing my friends and everything,
It's just
I-
good that Chairman Hobson knows that somebody's looking after him and making sure he's doing his job. So believe me, that's needed.
well, that wouldn't be me, but
I
I
don't know.
appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Apparently I am. Everyone bailed on me. I don't know what that says about our budget, but
Well, we'll get started with
okay,
that. So
wonderful. Thank you.
Catherine, thank you, and for presenting this, for the courts. I know we have a couple areas for questions.
Okay.
I also know, or I think we know that a request has been made by the chief on behalf of the judges for a salary increase, and understand that's in line, that's in terms of a schedule, we understand that's going on too.
Okay.
So, if you would give us the, I guess the top lines and then,
Yes.
specific things that y'all are, you deem, necessary based on what's going on around this building.
Okay, I can do that. Okay, first I'm gonna just run through real quickly what's in your packet that I gave you. The first page is what I call our cheat sheet, and that is gonna show you every increase that we've requested. I've also prioritized the major categories that we have. Salaries, obviously, first, and then within each of those categories, I've prioritized the subcategories. So that's your first sheet. Behind that, it's going to be a combined budget narrative, and those are going to show in detail exactly what we're asking for and why. The next thing is the deficit appropriation letter that I've submitted for this year. Next will be a packet on judicial salary increases, and then finally is youth court increases. That's just the information that you have. Okay, first we'll start with,
I'll tell you what, let's hit some small thing that, why don't you talk about the deficit request?
deficit, this year was, first, we just needed an additional 4 million in spending authority, and that had to do with the court reporters increases. Even though that's funded by the county, it still comes through AOC first, and then the county reimburses us. It should be the other way around, but it doesn't always work like that.
And that's not, you're just asking for authority. That's not state dollars.
Correct.
Because it's funded through the county, but
Correct. We just
it comes.
ran
through
out
the-
of,
Okay.
correct. The second was 652,863, and that was for the 2 new judges that were appointed in DeSoto and then in Hinds County. And that was not in our budget. So that would just be, because they got appointed in September, that would be about 85% of salary, trial judge allowance, office allowance, and
Those are the new judges.
the 2 new judges.
Okay, and just for the record, there was a back and forth about whether the appointments were required or elected. House has sent over a bill where we're addressing that. So is that's what you're talking about?
Those 2 judges, yes, sir,
Okay.
yes.
To be honest, with everything that went on, to only be off by 2, I think that's pretty good.
Yes. Yes. Now, we will get 9 more. So right now, we're at 111 judges. By 2027, after this new election cycle, we'll be at 119
Because of the new,
because of redistricting.
okay,
Yes.
all right.
The third thing we asked for was 156,121, and that had to do with our special judge appointments. As of calendar year 2025, the chief had made 423 special appointments. That was, 2024 was 285, 23 was 297. So that's, again, that's hard to know what we're gonna be faced with in special appointments, but that is salaries and travel for those special judges.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I guess, part of the redistricting in part was to help with that.
I hope it does,
So
yes.
conceivably that over time would go down.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. And our final ask was, we had an unexpected death in, Warren County for one of our court administrators. And these are going to be death benefits that are going to be paid. We understand the county should make up most of that, but being unsure how that is going to play out, we just requested that amount as well.
Okay.
So that was our deficit, request this year. Any-
I'll let you choose.
Okay. Well, I'm going to choose trial judge salaries. This obviously is, the chief's number one ask this year. The last increase was 4 years ago.
Well, let's just get it out.
Let's get it out.
We know there was an increase that was done 2 years ago.
Well, it was done before that. So the chief, unilaterally increased, and then the very next year, y'all increased it minutely. So, but yes, hopefully,
The unilateral was the key word.
I understand.
Understood that about what the law
Yes,
is interpreted, people interpreted it as saying.
right.
Okay.
So we have very hardworking trial judges. In your packet, you're going to see that looking at all states, Mississippi is ranked 51st in trial judge salaries, and we're ranked 50th in Supreme Court salaries. The only thing that kind of saves us is the Court of Appeals salaries. They are, I think, at 38%. Yes, 38 percentile. We've worked with Kelly Hardwick at the State Personnel Board, and they've given us numbers that they would recommend, and I think those were passed by their committee in December. So we amended the budget to take into account those new numbers. You also have a spreadsheet from Kelly that shows kind of our states that touch Mississippi, and where we rank, and we're pretty low. Again, 50th and 51st. One of our recommendations to consider, so that you don't have to use all general funds if you would consider the increase, is to increase filing fees.
Well, before you get to where I think you're going on that.
Okay.
So I'm speaking for, I think, the budget officers and others and Chairman Hobson. It came as a surprise at the discrepancies that between our judges and the other states.
Yes,
Which led to some other questions, and one that I have, and I know that's what they've said, but for better or for worse, the cost of living in Mississippi is lower than other places.
that is true.
So is this comparison looking at that? Or is it just like apples to apples, meaning this is the Supreme Court justice here and this is the one in Alabama or whatever?
Well, if you look at the states that are close to us that probably have a similar cost of living, we're still ranked below them. But the NCSC, our National State Court group that did this, did do a cost of living factor to adjust for that. And overall, Mississippi would be ranked 27th.
Wait, say that again?
They did a cost of living adjustment.
Okay.
And so if you look at that ranking, just I guess grouping all three together, they're saying that we would be ranked 27th.
Okay, so I appreciate you answering that, because if that's my correct me if you're wrong, but so numbers to numbers, or however they're looking at, we're 50th, but when you factor in cost of living, then the judges are actually at 27th in the
Right.
country. Is that right?
That's right.
Which is exactly half. Okay. Which Okay.
And that also is in your packet.
Okay. And who did that? Who did that comparison?
It's the NCSC, it's the National Council for State Courts. It's
Okay.
just our,
And so you, on that, y'all's request, well, let me back up. So in the SPB, do they have, did y'all get what the minimum and maximum would be considered?
I think they just gave us one number.
Okay. And, okay. And in your budget request, what is the reflection in the request? Is it what SPB is saying?
Yes, we went by
But-
those
But
numbers.
that, which is it's not the cost of living that we've just talked about.
Correct.
Okay.
Because SPB did not do an analysis of that.
And the court's request is to provide this, I'm going to loosely use it, a realignment so that we're in line with these other states.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Now you were saying, and before I start asking questions about it, I think what you're going to talk about is the judicial operations fund
Yes.
and the fees.
That is correct.
So, from having talked earlier, I think what you're saying is there's other ways besides general funds to cover that cost.
That is correct.
Is that right?
That is correct. So in the filing fees, as they stand today, $40 of every filing fee goes to the Judicial Operations Fund. And that is what is used to fund any amount of salary that is not funded by general funds. And if you look at the statute, I think it was back in 2012 where y'all did the stair step, and the statute hasn't changed to say an amount no less than 115,000 will come from general funds. So even though there have been increases in judges' salaries, the general fund has never been increased. The amount from general funds has never been increased. So special funds have always funded that, any raise. That's starting to get a little harder with our Judicial Operations Fund to pay for all of the raise. So if we could get filing fees increased such that the fee to Judicial Operations Fund could go up even to $80, then we could more easily pay those salaries out of special funds with no general funds being increased.
Well, so I appreciate y'all coming with a quote solution, but I think we need to talk about how we got there, because we've been presented with information from y'all that for the last decade, the judicial operation, the money has continued to go down in that fund. And I will say that it's the first time I found out about it was this week. The
Okay.
first time that I think these budget officers found out about it was recently. But it's been going on, and y'all brought it to our attention. The question is, why has that been going on and what's been happening? And in my looking at it, the fees that are being paid into that fund were in no way able to keep up with the operations of the courts.
Correct.
And so, but I think what's more concerning is what was happening with that fund. And and to be honest, why wasn't it brought to our attention? Because for the last, this is the third year of this term and this is the first year. And I know you have only been in your position for a year or whatever. So those are questions I have.
Okay. I will attempt to answer those. So we generate approximately, in a good year, $4.5 million from those fees. And those fees, I would say, make up about 95% of the Judicial Operations Fund. There's another small fee that goes in but it's not substantial. So the filing fees are what fund that. We pay, like I said, any overage for trial judges, Supreme Court judges, Court of Appeals judges, that is not paid out of general funds. There's also another statute that talks about county court judges that said when county court judges were created, AOC would pay any salary increase through maybe 2016. And then after that, it's unclear. So also with that fund,
The statute's unclear.
the statute is
The
unclear.
interpretation of the statute.
Possibly the interpretation is unclear. AOC has taken it upon itself in the past to help those counties pay those funds. I think, and it could have been a misinterpretation, that counties expected AOC to pay that because we had paid it before. So right now we are paying approximately $67,000 per county court judge out of that fund when that fund has money in it. So we are currently in arrears for 2025, repaying any county court judges that ask for that money.
But I want to drill down because what it sounds to me like, and based on what I've seen, is somewhere previously a decade ago, this interpretation led to the belief that the state was going to cover what in our position is actually a county cost. Is that
Right.
right?
That's
Okay.
correct.
And that's not been corrected for a decade.
Correct.
And credit to y'all, you're bringing it to us now.
Yes.
The numbers that we've been provided is that means that the state is covering 65% of those costs.
Right.
Then the raise, if our calculations are right, if we do the raises, then that means the state is going to continue an increase. So anywhere between 65 to 70%. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. It's my understanding that when the county court system was created or was done, that was not the intent. I mean, it's a county court.
Right. I would
And
assume that.
Okay.
Yes.
So somewhere at AOC, somebody interpreted it this way, which is required the state to pay it.
Yes. And now that I'm more involved in the budget and we have a new finance director, we are seeing this and knowing that we cannot sustain this. This is,
So well, I appreciate you saying that. It's fairly unsustainable.
yes.
So who is it's going to tell these county court? That's a rhetorical question.
If it's up to me, I would pick you, but it's probably not. It's probably going to fall on me.
Fair answer.
Yes. But and we have gotten a lot of questions from counties asking why we haven't paid, this year. And we've explained to them that it's this one thing that is clear in the statute. It says only if there's funding available. And our argument right now is there's no funding available to do that.
And I guess to be clear, the court system, as I've come to understand, the court system is pretty much a county system throughout the state. It's a partnership. Just like the court reporters that we gave raises to last year, they're paid by the county.
Correct.
Just like the clerks are paid by the county that help the judges who are state employees.
Like the circuit clerk?
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
right. Yeah, I mean the deputies and
Yes.
things like that.
Yes.
And, and then from the county position, not every county has a county court.
Correct.
It's the ones who have gotten to a certain point, they felt like they could, and under the law, they got there. So my point is, there's some decisions that are going to have to be made.
Yes, there are.
So y'all have taken the position that I guess you're waiting to see what the budget is to tell them whether the AOC is going to cover that cost. Is
That is
that a fair
correct.
statement?
Yes. Or with now it being made known to this group, whether it's a new interpretation of that statute is going to come out or any changes to that statute will be made.
And what if do you have a number of like what that costs? The cost to the county or what it costs for the county courts? Did you
Yes.
understand my question?
I mean, a county court judge,
I guess I should put it this way, of your budget, what is the cost? The county funding the county courts?
if the raise is implemented, I believe it's going to be around 2.3 million. I can find that for you. About 3.053 million. If the raises go through, that's what AOC would pay in salaries for county court judges.
Okay. Go into the fees.
Okay,
You're recommending a raise, an across the board raise?
yes,
Okay, and those fees would go into the judicial operating fund?
yes. Whatever the fee increase was raised to, I would recommend at least it be $40 increase so that the judicial operations fund fee could go from 40 to 80.
Okay. And here's something that in my review, we've come up with. To simplify it, throughout the code, there are fees that are assessed through different court proceedings or whatever,
Correct.
be it, in justice court or county court or whatever. Have y'all been able to determine if all of those fees are being collected?
No, sir.
Okay. To put another way, when I run my law firm and I send bills out, we look at a collection rate. Like, okay, we bill out whatever, 100%, and our collection rate of the money that is owed us it's never as high as I want it to be, but the fact of the matter is that it is. So my assumption is that those fees if they are assessed, or one, are they being assessed? Number two, are they being collected to go into that fund?
As of right now, that is undeterminable. We are hoping now that all courts, all circuit, chancery, and county courts are on MEC, we'll be able to see the number of cases that are open in a given year and compare it to what amount is collected by DFA. Those clerks send their fees directly to DFA. It does not come directly to us. So we don't have a way of showing, okay, Warren County has 2,000 open cases, therefore we should have, whatever, what's that, 80,000, 8,000, from Warren County. We just don't have a way of tracking that. And
Well, are the counties doing, and I keep saying the
Mhm.
counties, but are these entities doing what they're supposed to do to track it?
I don't believe so.
Do we have maybe that's what you mentioned by MEC. Can we track it through MEC?
We can better track it through MEC. We can better track how much we should have, but I don't think we can track whether a court has paid those fees through MEC because they don't come through MEC. They go
We
directly.
can track what is due. We just can't track if they've
What is paid.
actually paid them to y'all or,
Correct.
okay.
That's correct.
So I guess with that analysis, so we may have the state or AOC in this fund may have collected, let's say I'm just making up numbers here, but let's say you collected $100,000. But if you go and analyze what all the fees in the cases that should have been collected, that could have been $500,000.
Correct.
So there's a delta of $400,000 that we're missing that actually could go towards, that should be there, that would have funded these things.
Correct.
Is that right?
That is correct.
So how do,
Mhm.
how do we, or do you have a solution / suggestion about how we can address this?
One thing we will be doing is tracking it through MEC just based on open cases. I think the other solution would just be either, it's mandatory by statute
That they have to
that
collect?
they have to do it. But I don't know that there's any teeth, any consequence if you don't.
And about MEC, and these fees are collected through justice court too, is that right? Or some of them?
No, not through justice
Not
court.
justice court,
It's
okay.
Circuit, Chancery, county courts. Civil, and these are civil filings.
Civil file.
We don't get any, anything from circuit criminal.
Okay. So on the raising the fees that you're talking about, that's an across the board. So does that cover the requested raises that y'all put in your budget?
It should, because the raises would be 3.6 million. And so if we could double our judicial operations fund, then that could potentially pull in another 4.5 million.
To be clear, these fees are paid by the litigants, attorneys, folks, as opposed to, this solution you're talking about is not general fund. It's coming from the user fees, basically.
User fees, that is correct.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. The last thing I will address is our youth courts. And last year, 2 years ago, we had a mandate to audit our My Kids system, our case management system for our youth courts. And it was a hard pill to swallow, but we have learned that that is a pretty outdated system. As Vicky Lowry likes to say, it's using 1999 technology in 2026. So another one of our big asks is to replace that system, and prior to replacing the system, clean up all data. And that is a $8.75 million request, but it's a one-time expense. It could come out of capital expenses, not, general funds.
And if that's provided, what's the timeline on getting that done?
32 months.
Okay, so there's a phase in.
Yes. Well, no. We would have to use My Kids up until it's ready, but then once it's live, it's live. Because they're building out the system. It would be a Microsoft platform, but we couldn't use it I don't think we would want to use it in stages.
And to be fair, y'all did a presentation to the Judiciary Committee, and we heard that. I'll just say I put in, there may be a statutory requirement, so I've requested that to be done.
Thank you.
I will say this, that based on my brief conversations with the House counterparts, it is the desire that we proceed forward on this, because it's for the presentations and the information that y'all gave us, and that it would address some of the things that we've been talking about and make everything more efficient and all of that.
Yes. Yes.
And the platform, as I understand it, the platform is Microsoft based, which means that it works with the state stuff.
That is
And
correct.
to your point about 1990 technology, My Kids is self-contained. It doesn't do I was talking to somebody, and you can't even print out the orders from it or something. Like, if you're dealing with MEC on a regular through practicing in courts, like, that's one thing you can, like, that's a huge thing, is getting the actual orders that dictate what you're supposed to. So anyway, that's right.
That is correct.
Okay. So that's 8.7 million.
8.75.
8.75.
8 million for the platform, 8.875. I think that's right. 750,000 is for data cleanup, so that we are we guarantee when we start that it's all clean data. And we're in the process of cleaning data right now, just with courts that are willing. And we have administratively closed 114,000 cases in my kids that should not have been opened. So whether the child aged out of the system or it was just a take no action, they're now closed. So we
Okay.
are working on that.
I had one other anything else on that? On the
Um,
My Kids?
no.
Okay. On the My Kids? Okay, yeah, Senator Hickman.
Just quickly, I think that might have been made to A. I'm not on A, so I had a question about, who all, I guess, are involved in the consulting. And my thing is, when we're upping this, and I have a huge interest in my kid because I love what it's supposed to do, but I hate the system completely. And I'm just making sure we have everybody at the table
Yes.
consulting to make sure that this is a product for people who actually practice and do this can use in a good way.
Yes, this company that we are consulting with has gone out and did numerous audits throughout the state and that was one of the good things about this audit is to show, well, this is what we would like for it to do. So now we know when we build this new platform, this is what we want it to do. It's what my kids should have done from the very beginning, but just did not. But yes, we've talked to end users, judges, court staff, parents, the representatives. So it's, yeah.
And one final thing, I know technology is ever changing. Is this something that can be minorly updated? Like what's the lifespan? Will we be here again in 5 or 10 years saying we need to rebuild the system?
We have been told that anytime Microsoft is updated, this system will be updated. So with it being built on a Microsoft platform, that was our end goal. So we would not be here in 5 years again.
Can you address on your salaries line, the support staff funding?
That is a big ask. It is to fully fund 2 support staff per trial judge. So a court administrator and a law clerk.
Okay, you're gonna have to, since you're here, you're gonna have to sell that because last year or 2 years ago, we raised the statutory amount for staff and for the office allowance as well. If I'm not mistaken, I am not mistaken. We
No,
did that.
you did
And
do
we
that.
raised that. So why are we now requesting this again?
One of the reasons is working with counties in funding these positions. Some counties are not able to fund, like if you look at, it's currently $130,000 is what the state gives a trial judge. That
My
will,
recollection, it was at 75 or something.
it was at 70, yes, sir.
70, so from 70
70 to
in,
100
correct.
and then 130.
30.
Yes. And the reason we're asking for this is just so those 2 positions are fully funded and we are not having to count on counties to pay those state employees. It's sometimes very difficult to deal with counties. The way I believe our financing works is they're supposed to prepay, but they don't always prepay. There are some judges who are unable to hire good staff because their counties are unable to pay. So like I said, it's a very big ask, but it would be very beneficial to our trial judges to have 2 full-time, fully funded staff.
They have one now.
They have one that is probably fully funded and one that is funded by the county.
Okay. So there's a fully funded state one.
Yes,
Okay, and the county provides one.
possibly.
Okay, and so this would mean there would be 2 for each trial judge.
2 for each trial judge if they wanted a court administrator and a law clerk.
Okay. Just a personal anecdote after, like, just recently, just in my knowing that we had raised it, I walked into a courtroom somewhere and lo and behold, there's a whole bunch of brand new chairs and all this other stuff that came from, that I was told came from the staffing or from the office fund. And then we get this, there's a serious, like, how do we know that stuff is being spent where it's going and not being spent on brand new chairs? And I'm not saying furniture is not a necessity. What I'm
Right.
saying is that in the situation I'm talking about, it was not, they weren't, they didn't need to be thrown out.
Right. So the trial judge support staff allowance is strictly salaries. That can only be used as salaries. That comes through our office and is solely, I can guarantee you, is solely for salaries. An office allowance, I think that's now 15,000. That is intended for office supplies, and then there's also a rent, that's separate. I wish I knew what court you were talking about because I feel like I need to go audit them. But it should not, I agree, it should not be going for courtroom furniture. That generally is paid for by counties because it is a county courthouse. But now, office furniture, a desk, computers, chairs in your office, that potentially could come from that fund. And I will praise our finance department. They are sticklers and they do not mind telling judges no. So I certainly hope that's not going on.
Yeah, and I apologize. I may have gotten the two funds. That may have conflated the two funds. And so I understand that, but, that has to happen. But I think the point is that we've raised those at the
Understand.
request, and I know y'all acknowledge that, and I hear what you're saying. But it seems to always come back to county and state.
Yes, I understand. I
Yeah.
understand.
Yep. Senator Hickman.
And if I just wanted to make sure I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying you're wanting the funds for you guys to be able to pay for both of these positions fully
Yeah.
out of the fund that you get. Is this because of, and I've heard this a lot, particularly from like some of these districts that have like 6 and 7 counties. Some counties are not paying in their
Yes.
portion that they're supposed to. And
Correct.
there's an issue with that happening.
Yes, and some counties just flat out refuse to pay.
So would now the counties that pay, would that kind of be a supplement, or would that go away? Or the county's no longer responsible with this act that you're asking for now? How would that work? with
If
the
we
funding?
were able to get 2 fully funded positions, then it would take a burden off the counties for those 2 positions to where they could pay for if there's another position that needs to be funded or something else. But we would ask that it be, that the state fully fund 2. There may be some judges that have 3 employees if they chose, and a county could pay for another one.
Kathy, I want to also go to on your sheet, the subsidies, the intervention courts.
Yeah.
Can you discuss that, please?
Yes, we are just asking for an increase for our adult felony drug courts. We typically get 9 million for intervention courts, and last year was the first year that it was broken out into adult versus youth and family versus mental health. We have adult drug courts are very expensive to run, and the funding that they get is, I would say, some solely depend on that funding and can only do so much with that funding. It's hard to send someone to treatment because there's not funding. Participants usually have to pay for their own treatment. So that would be the increase just to help those courts function better. Youth and family intervention courts, that's the same. We have several counties that would like to open a youth or family court, but the way we're funded right now with the 9 million, we can't open any new courts. We just don't have the money to do it. And then that would be the same with mental health. We have just 2 mental health courts.
Okay. LBO, just remind me, y'all haven't asked in the opioid settlement. I think y'all were
We
granted
do.
that, right?
Well, the committee agreed to
Agreed, you're right.
agree.
We had
Yes,
some
y'all
sort-
have the
yeah.
final say.
And how
Right.
much was that?
That was 12 million, and that is strictly for treatment. So nothing that intervention courts are using the state funds for now. It's solely for anything that they could not pay for. Treatment, transportation.
Would that
housing.
replace this request?
It could.
Okay. Clearly there's a need
Yes.
for drug court. I mean, I hesitate to ask what, because I think the number would be way up there, but it appears to me that we need more money for drug courts. Is that right?
That is correct. For instance, like one of the bigger drug courts that has maybe 300 participants, it's probably going to cost it almost $700,000 to $750,000 to fully run it. And the most that our subsidies gives the court is, I believe, 330, maybe 350. So these courts are having to come up with money.
But the thing to remember that a lot of people forget is that by drug courts, you're offsetting, that's a savings to the to the criminal correction system,
Correct.
to recidivism, to all of that.
Yes,
So,
it's keeping them out of parchment. That is correct.
okay. Any other items before I turn it over to the committee members?
Those, I think we've hit the highlights on
Okay.
those.
So any questions from the members? Yeah, Senator DeBar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the rationale for the pay raise is because we're at or near the bottom for trial judges. And with the pay raise, if it were appropriated, what would that place us at?
That is a very good question that I could, if you would let me get back to you this afternoon, I could
Okay.
give you that answer.
And so, but with the cost of living adjustment, we're at 27th roughly.
According to the
Okay.
NCSC, yes, sir.
Okay. Are we having a shortage of judges?
We are having judges, like especially right now because of the election, a lot of judges are choosing not to run again because they've gotten their 4 high years and they just don't know.
Yeah. But I'm sure there's people qualified to run.
That
but-
is correct.
So we're
Yes.
not having a shortage of judges. We got people qualifying to run.
We do not have a shortage. Yes, sir.
And so, and the rate, then I think you said the reason paying for the raises by increasing the fees, the filing fees, really, is that correct?
That would be one of our suggestions,
Okay. And what would that, and would you say the amount was?
$40.
Raising it $40. At what point do we keep raising these fees where it makes access to justice, access to the courts unavailable or unattainable for certain people?
Well, I hope we would never do that. Right now, I think our filing fees have not been raised since 2012 at least. So we've kept them at the same amount for at least 12 to 15 years.
Okay, so we're not having a shortage of judges. The quality of court system is not declining. We're at 27th in the nation. And so, but yet we think that the judges need additional pay.
The judges are, yes, we're asking for a pay raise.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I understand it's the court's position that the filing fees have not been raised in 12 years or so, but haven't we, the chancery clerks requested fee increases? So the overall impact on the litigant has been an increase that we've seen in the past, I would say at least 5 years.
And that gets to my question about collecting, because what I think they're talking about is it goes directly to the judicial fund, but the clerks, Chancery has raised that goes to different things. So
Right.
not only are you doing the fees for the judges, you're doing the fees for the Chancery clerks, and you're doing the fees for the circuit clerks, and they all add up.
And so I would also like to ask, because I think what I understood is that there's a disconnect between what is, I would say, as the filing fee that has been paid versus what has actually been dispersed to AOC from DFA. Are the clerks not required to submit some sort of form or document to AOC where it can track what the clerks are receiving, what has been submitted to DFA, and then the AOC would also know what has been filed?
No, ma'am, but that would be an exceptional statutory change. If we could make that happen, that would be very beneficial.
Because it seems like it would be rather simple. Well, I don't know. I don't want to oversimplify, but it seems like it would be if, you know, if the clerk is going to remit a payment to DFA, a document can also be sent to AOC saying this is what has been paid to DFA. So those two agencies can then track
Yes, that would be
what is to be
beneficial.
received. Now, this is something I don't know because I have not had a chance to look into the documents. What is being generated from MEC? And where are those funds going? And the reason I ask is because, you know, there's the initial filing, and then when an attorney accesses documents, if he or she has not saved them
Mhm.
on their system, each time they are accessing those documents, there's a payment that's being collected by MEC. How are those funds being handled?
Those funds are split between MEC and the clerk's office, 50-50. And so half of those funds come back to MEC, and that is how that department is run. They are solely a special fund department. And I think we generate just over $1 million in funds for that department each year.
And is it the position of ALC that you all do not know if all circuits, if all districts are now on MEC?
Oh, no, ma'am,
So
all.
they all.
Oh, they are,
okay.
as of last July 1st or June 30th, every county court, chancery court, and circuit court are now on MEC.
And I thought that was the case, but you mentioned something previously about not knowing or not having information from MEC, and I'll just check my notes, but
Okay.
and I'll follow up. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Hobson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Catherine, thank you. We talked about some of this a little bit yesterday, but I know that the state has borne the burden of the additional cost to the county court judges,
Sir.
which normally would be borne, should be borne by the counties. But one other thing just piqued my interest that I heard a while ago is, as we're talking about the amounts, and I know we've changed, these have gone up over the years, and I'll get with Corbin to get and you can give him the increases on office expenses
Yes.
that have gone up. Am I correct in understanding that some counties are not paying their share of, I think I heard you say this, of the judges, some of their expenses that would be normally borne by the counties? There's been a little difficulty in getting some counties to pay their pro rata proportionate share, correct?
Paying it or paying it timely. And so they may be months in arrears, and then that's going to affect how our,
Okay.
finance.
And do we have a list of those counties? If you
I can
I
get
would
it for
love
you.
to get that, and if you would give it to the chairman and also Corbin too, and we can all look at that, because that may be something we need to address, because I get it from the court standpoint. If they're not getting paid expenses that should be paid by the counties, they can't just keep looking to the state to cover all the deficiency. We end up having to clean up a lot of the messes that are not being taken care of. So we may have to take some action, Mr. Chairman, on getting those kind of problems resolved,
Well-
and look at the overall expenses too, because there are certain things I think that are our expenses and certain things that counties ought to bear in this too.
That's what I was alluding to when I earlier said there's going to be some hard decisions that have to be made.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I stepped out for another
No,
meeting for a minute, so I may have
And-
missed some of that.
In fairness to them, from what I understand, AOC's not told them they're going to pay or whatever until, until decisions are made up here in this budget cycle.
Okay.
And I think because you had stepped out, we nominated you to speak to all the counties.
Let's say again, Captain.
You're gonna let the counties know that we will no longer be funding.
Yeah, I think I think we need to know which counties are not fulfilling.
No. We nominated you to
Oh,
let the
okay.
counties know that they wouldn't be getting the funds.
Tell me which person nominated me so I can remember that. No, I'm kidding.
It was by acclamation.
Okay, all four. Thank you. Okay. Senator Hickman's out. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well,
And thank you, Catherine.
Thank you.
thank you all very much.
Thank you.
So we'll get with you on as we go forward.
I appreciate your time. Thank you. And thank you for giving us a little extra.
Actually, we're right on time on that, so good. Next is going to be the tax appeals.
Perfect. Yep. Thank you. But these mics don't pick us up as well. Got enough, I'm assuming. You need one more? Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, we will move to tax appeals. I don't know. Good afternoon. So, as we said earlier, you can hit the highlights. We're running right on schedule. And so, we have DPS behind you, which, Commissioner Tyndall likes his time in front of the camera, but, he's not in here. Huh?
I like to limit mine. so that
Good.
Works
Well,
out
there we
perfect.
go. So we are going, so you can have at it.
Okay, great. I think that most of you know me by now, but I will reintroduce myself, Krista Andy, Executive Director of the Board of Tax Appeals. And I think most of you know Denise DeRosset, but she assists us with our compliance and fiscal matters. So all of you are familiar with us. I'm going to skip right to what we need as opposed to giving you a background of who we are. And so I guess our main reason for coming before you today is to discuss the funding changes that we'd like. And that we're going to discuss the salary line, contractual, commodities and equipment, not travel. So just to give you a brief just reminder, we do have 6 positions. We have 3 board members that are appointed by the governor. We have an executive director, attorney position, and a hearing officer position. And so I guess I will say at the back of your handout, I love a table that gives you a snapshot of what we need. We do have 2 tables this year. The first one that I think is on your page 2 is an increase over the fiscal year 26 appropriation. And then the table on the last page is the increase over the recommendation from the LBO. So I'm going to go over each of those lines, but just in summary, that's what it is so that you can follow along there or through the narrative either way. But as far as the salaries, we've got 2 components there. One of our board's long-term members and a beloved colleague was William Green Poindexter, which I think most of you are familiar with him. And he passed away in November of 24. So that left a vacancy on our board. And we did get that vacancy filled pretty much effective July of 25. He came on June, I think he was actually appointed June of 24. Or June 24 of 25. So we have had a vacancy, and I think that part of our salary request is fully funding our salary target. And we think that part of the reason maybe it wasn't is because of that vacancy. The request to fully fund all of our positions is the 6,670, I think, if I'm saying that right. 6,670. But that is, I think that maybe the recommendation has included that, but we do need that to be fully funded. And then I guess just to give a little bit more background, as far as the shortage that we do have right now, our attorney position, which just as a reminder, I think all of you have heard us talk about this over the past couple of years, but that one position is split between 2 people. One attorney is working 80% time, and she is a salaried employee. She comes off the salary line. We contract with another attorney to fill that one position, and she comes out of the contract line. So that situation has worked out absolutely beautifully. They are both exceptional. The salary lined person is a tax attorney, and she has been tremendous. Our legal contract person is also tremendous, has great research experience. She's worked for the state in previous years for like 25 years. She's retired from the state. Anyway, that's beautiful. We don't want to change that, but we do just need to be fully funded so we can accommodate that situation. And that's the 6670. The other is salary progressions. We have not, the legislature has not funded progressions for us for 26. And we do not have flexibility to do that on our own. We're fully funded by the general fund. So we have not received a progression since 24. And so we are requesting a 3% salary increase for all positions for fiscal year 27. And even with that 3% increase, we still have not hit the maximum amount, or not maximum, the market amount that was set by SEC2, which we still strive to do. And it's noted just the executive position is significantly low. It's even 29% below. But when SEC2 was implemented, that was a true gift to us. So we love SEC2 because that is the way that we were able to really get those salary increases that we needed. There was a time not too long ago when we had one person doing 3 jobs, and none of us want that to happen again. We just can't function that way. And so we just would love to be able to continue to be competitive with that salary. We did lose employees due to our low salaries that we had in the past, and we certainly don't want to go back. So SEC2 is wonderful, and we would appreciate that if that's could be considered. And then the other, I guess, just to summarize on the salary, that increase for that progression is like a $16,000 number. And let me see, I know that's listed here, 16,648. And so if to get the 6 positions fully funded and for our salary progression, we're asking for a salary target of 609,399. The other budget considerations for our contract, commodities, and equipment, we're asking for a $3,000 increase in the contractual budget. That's really due to a factor outside of our control. ITS requires a technology security audit to be completed every 3 years, and ours is coming due again in fiscal year 27, so we're asking for that contractual increase for that. With commodities and equipment, we're asking for an increase of $2,750 for commodities. And that's really due to just the increase in supply cost, which I know all agencies are having to endure that. The equipment increase is 2,300, and that is to just allow us to purchase computers and printers that have not been replaced over several years. We try to just alternate on a recurring basis the things that we need to replenish and replace. So that's to cover that. And then so just to recap on the 2 tables that you have, the first one, like I said, is a comparison with the fiscal year 26 appropriation. And that's the fully funding the 6 positions is the 6670. The salary progressions of 3% we're asking for 16,648. Our required IT security audit, which is under the contract line, is 3,000. Commodities, 2,750, equipment, 2,300. And then just below it's the same request. It's just that it's compared to the legislative budget recommendation. So that by salary line compared to the LBR, salaries 12,195. And I think that that might include that the 6670 of the fully funding, but I'm not positive, but I think. But anyway, these numbers are the same. They just look a little different from the comparisons. Travel, we were recommended what we requested and what's been appropriated, so we're good there. Contractual services, even though that's a 9626, we think that what was moved into the salary line of the 6670 may have been taken from our contract. So if we get that back, which was what was appropriated, plus add our 3,000, it gets you back to about that number. And then again, commodities and equipment are the same, 2,750 and 2,300. So,
Very thorough.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? Anyone? You nailed it, it looks like.
Okay, good.
Thank
So
you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All those people walked in with the commissioner. I'm wondering how much that cost. Right there is fine. And I will go ahead and, as we've been trying to do, we've been trying to stay on schedule and we've been successful so far. And actually we're a little bit ahead and that's good. So, and I will say you can hit the highlights. We know there's a lot, as there usually should be. And, you can, hit the highlights and kind of plan on, we've got 45 minutes. I'll say that.
I'm gonna make this quick. Am I the last one today?
You are the last
Yeah.
one and we moved it around because, and advised that you were the last one. So yes.
Well, I know what that means and, we will, handle it accordingly. Well, Mr. Chairman.
But we want you to cover what is, what you see is necessary, obviously, and where, and know that y'all are doing other good things. Like you handed out the newsletter that y'all been doing to the community. So things like that. So I'll turn it over to you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I will try to be quickly, go through this and y'all have our budget request. So I won't go through too much of that other than some of the highlights. But one thing that I would like to, talk about and kind of go through with y'all, is some of the highlights that we have from 2025, as well as some of the trends that we've seen in the Department of Public Safety since we got here in 2020, and with y'all's support, some of the things that we've been able to accomplish. Capitol Police obviously is a big thing. Y'all sent them over to us in 2020 after the 2021 legislative session. They came to DPS. You can see that in 2025, we had 471 felony arrests through Capitol Police. The year before, we had 861. The year before that, it was 808. The year before that was 176. And the year before they came to us, there was 3 felony arrests by Capitol Police. So obviously, it's been a much more proactive police department. We've grown to having currently 145 sworn officers. We'd still like to get to 200. We think that's important considering the additional areas that must be covered with the expansion of the CCID. But I want you to know the impact that it's having. If you look at 2021, you'll see that there was 157 homicides in the city of Jackson. Working with the city of Jackson, working with Hinds County and Capitol Police and DPS, the homicides in Jackson went to a nearly decade low of 75 last year. Again, that is a very positive trend and one in which I would like to thank all the law enforcement in Hinds County, including our Capitol Police officers and others that helped
And that's
contribute
a
to that.
credit to y'all, to all of y'all,
To all of us.
to all of y'all
Working together, the force multiplier that is the Capitol Police has had a tremendous impact. And I think that's why you see some of these felony arrest numbers down as well. It's been a deterrent to crime that we're actually holding criminals accountable. And I think this is a very positive trend. If you go over to our next slide, the Commercial Transportation Enforcement Division, another division that y'all sent to DPS at the same time. If you look at the federal reports on crashes involving commercial vehicles, again, it's been another downward trend. In 2023, there was 3,284. In 2024, there was 3,123. Last year, there was 3,150. But when you look at the serious crashes, it's gone down from 297 to 222 over a 2-year period. The fatal crashes have gone down, 84 in 2022, 95 in 2023, and 82 last year. We've been recognized by the Federal Motor Carrier Association for the work that CTA has been doing in motor carrier with the Highway Patrol and reducing commercial trucking accidents in Mississippi. We've also been busy under the Trump administration removing individuals that couldn't speak English proficiently. Just in the second half of last year, when Trump made the administrative change allowing us to remove those types of drivers from commercial vehicles, we have taken 252 off the road and 211 undocumented immigrants out of circulation by working with ICE and other federal agencies to remove them, particularly from commercial trucking vehicles. Highway Patrol, again, another stat that I'm very proud of. And something that I've been very passionate about is safe driving and driver's education and teenage fatalities in our state. Routinely, Mississippi is number 1 or 2 in the nation in teenage fatalities. If you look at the statewide crash totals involving teens, in 2021, there was 80. In 2022, 63, 2023, 67. In 2024, we had 74. Last year, we had 50. So you've seen a major reduction in teenage fatalities on our roadways. But that's not just for teens. That's also for fatal accidents in general. In 2021, we had 345. That number was reduced to 306 in 2022, 311 in 2023. And last year, Highway Patrol worked 277 fatal accidents compared to the 345 that it worked just 4 years before. So these are all very positive trends and something that I want to highlight because of the hard work that this agency and the men and women that work here have been doing. Part of that is due in large part to y'all's support and funding of trooper schools. We've added 213 state troopers since 2020. We've had annual classes when we've been able to make sure that we've been able to maintain. We haven't actually grown much. We've been able to maintain the number of state troopers we have working the highways in Mississippi. That's due in large part to the number of retirees that we've had. I do think we're about to see a trend where we'll be able to add more because if you'll remember, between 2028 and I think in 2018, we might have had 1 patrol school. So I think we're going to hit a stretch where we'll be able to really add to our numbers and again, improve upon these stats when it comes to teenage fatalities and crashes on our roadways. MBI, again, another positive trend. The year before there was, we had 19 officer-involved shootings that we investigated last year. The year before, it was over 30. So we're seeing positive trends when it comes to that. MBN, again, another stat that I think you all should be proud of. In 2020, we had 533 overdose deaths. In 2021, 496, 2022, 395, 2023, 395, 2024, 314. And last year, we had 185 overdose deaths in Mississippi. So you've seen a reduction from 533 to 185. Again, y'all have been very supportive of the Bureau of Narcotics. We've added new agents. We have instigated campaigns in high schools and colleges talking to young people about the dangers of drug use. We've also enhanced our local enforcement efforts by various task force and other means trying to get these illegal drugs out of our community and also educate young people about the dangers that they present. The Mississippi Office of Homeland Security, digital forensics has been a very major thing in this new world of law enforcement. We do thousands of digital forensics examinations every year. Our cyber unit has seen an increase of 56% in cyber incidences. Just not too long ago, Singing River Hospital was hit by a cyber attack, and we worked hand in hand with Singing River Hospital on that response. Our Fusion Center has done a great job retrieving intel analysts there, get information and work throughout the state to provide information to local law enforcement as well as state law enforcement, gathering intelligence and other information through the Fusion Center. Medical Examiner's Office, and again, another positive stat, I think, for the state of Mississippi. In 2021, we had a record high of 601 homicides in the state of Mississippi, examinations done by the Medical Examiner's Office. In 2025, we had 423, nearly a 33% reduction in homicides in the state of Mississippi. Malota has been busy graduating not only basic classes, but we've been offering advanced
I'm
law
sorry to
enforcement
interrupt.
classes. Yes, sir.
And I'm not going to belabor on that, but I know previous years, including last year, we funded for backlogs. I noticed on there, and also the sexual assault kits have been time turnaround has been reduced.
That's correct. At the crime lab itself, we've eliminated the backlog by nearly 7,500. on our sexual assault kits that y'all mandated that be done in every sexual assault case. We've had a 30 to 90-day completion rate for those. So we've made some major strides at the crime lab. And again, the hard work of those individuals there should be credited, as well as the funding opportunities that y'all gave us by giving additional money for additional personnel and equipment and upgrades. As y'all know, we issued new intoxilizer machines across the whole state over the last year. And that has been something that's been pending for 5 to 10 years, trying to get those intoxilizers updated. So now every county in the state has new intoxilizers. The medical examiner's office, when we got there, there was 2,000 autopsy reports that had not been completed, going all the way back to 2010. That entire backlog has been eliminated. And the turnaround time on autopsy reports now runs usually about 90 days. Sometimes we have to wait for additional evidence to come in through toxicology and other reports that might prolong that. But the turnaround time on autopsies has been tremendous. As you know, we're also opening a lab in North Mississippi and Oxford. I get a round of applause every time we talk to law enforcement or families or anywhere we go in North Mississippi, and we talk about opening that medical examiner's office. There's a huge appreciation for that, because those families, instead of having to send those bodies to Pearl and wait on the autopsy to be completed, then returned, those families can rest assured that it'll be done much quicker, and they'll be able to get those reports back quicker, and they'll be able to have the closure of the funeral and what have you quicker. So yeah, a lot of strides at both the crime lab and the ME's office. Driver services stations, we're still at about a 15-minute wait time statewide. We serviced over 830,000 people last year. We do a lot more online than we used to, 155,000 credentials issued online. We've got a new mobile ID app coming out in 2026, and we also introduced for the first time our mobile driver's license station, which allows us to respond to events like Rolling Fork, where you have mass loss of property and belongings. We can take that mobile driver station to those underserved communities, or those communities that have been struck by natural disasters, and make sure that we can get to them. Also, a very major step for us is, unlike a lot of states, Mississippi is 99% real ID compliant. So 99% of the people in Mississippi now have real IDs. A lot of states really struggle with that. We did a great job, and our folks at Driver Services of making that happen. Public safety and planning's been busy. The new Board of Law Enforcement Standards and Training, investigating a number of cases out there, has been great. And I also want to brag on our support service division. We try to do employee surveys. Morale at DPS has gotten better over the last 5 years. Every time we do one, we see improvements there. We also, your support services only makes up about 5% of our entire agency, which is relatively, I think, low compared to other agencies. And so we've been doing a lot of good work there. Our legal department is busy with public records requests. We made it well known that we were going to try to be transparent with our investigations. Once they were complete, individuals could get body cams, they could get records of the investigation. Because of those transparency efforts, our public records requests have gone from 1,400 in 2021 to over 2,000 last year. So we've seen a significant amount of increase in the public records requests we get. So I do all that bragging on my team and staff to kind of take us to our budget request. And I probably went on longer than I should have, but I thought it was important, A, to highlight the hard work that they've been doing, the positive trends that we've seen due in large part because of the work they do, and the support that y'all have provided.
Well, I just want to say you should, because I was just sitting here talking to Corbin, like those numbers you cited with your leadership and the governor's leadership and all that, it's talk about making a difference. So I hope people see that, because it's certainly been a priority of Chairman Hobson and us. So thank you for highlighting those things.
Thank you. And it's something I think you all should brag about as well as us. And I think it was last year, U.S. News and World Report had us as, when it came to public safety, number 17 in the country, which is a pretty big stride from being on the bottom not too long ago. And so some of these trends are the reason why. So, with that, and it brings me to the fun part, we're asking for $40 million more than last year. So,
That's a good segue.
so,
I know.
but, I can tell you of the 40 million more that we're asking for, and this is an opportunity for us to tell you some of our wish list things that we think can improve public safety with different equipment and things of that nature. But 75%, 29,497,000, is salary increases. And what is important, I think at this juncture is that we recognize, what I think is probably the most important asset of the Department of Public Safety, and that's the men and women that work there. And their commitment to public safety, whether they're working in a law enforcement role, whether they're working at the crime lab, whether they're working at driver services, whether they're working at the support services division, trying to provide all those that are out there in the field the services they need. So again, it's a large increase that we're asking for. But what I'm asking you to do is consider reinvesting most of that, 75%, into what I think is the greatest asset of the Department of Public Safety, which is the men and women that we have working there. And I'll be glad to go through each of the items that we have. I did put for y'all's knowledge a salary comparison so you could look at other, not only state law enforcement, in the Southeast, the average for a state trooper is 62,000. We're obviously at 54. When you look at some of the county agencies in the state, Harrison County SO's at 55, Madison's at 56, Warren County's at 57, Tunica County's at 62, Lafayette's at 63, DeSoto County's 65. You look at the PDs from across the state, Gulfport, it's at 55, Oxford's at 58, Cleveland, Mississippi
Let
is
me st-
61,000.
And you correct me on this, but the biggest difference there is that the highway patrol has a separate retirement plan. And do these reflect those retirement plans?
They don't. Highway Patrol does have a separate retirement plan, but NBN does not.
Right.
Capitol Police does not.
Right.
CTED does not. Homeland Security does not. The people at the crime lab do not. Highway Patrol does have the benefit of that.
They're in the state plan.
They are in the state plan, yes, sir.
Okay.
And again, I go back to Cleveland. Cleveland, Mississippi is a town of about 12,000 people. They have 47 full-time law enforcement officers. They have a starting salary of 61,000. I visited with the chief of Cleveland over the summer. They haven't had a homicide at that time in Cleveland, Mississippi in over 18 months. And they've attracted quality officers in what has been a very struggling and crime-ridden area of our state. And they've committed to public safety, and because of that, business is thriving there. Families are thriving, schools are thriving, and public safety is a priority. And I just highlight that because I think it's important that we stay competitive with those salaries in that realm. Not asking to be the highest in the state, just asking to be competitive. And so if you look at Highway Patrol's budget increase, the largest part of that is obviously salaries. That's on a pay scale that would get them to 65. Again, I know that's what we're asking for. It might not end up there. We have some helicopter maintenance that is needed. We've got some additional money for bulletproof vests. I'll skip over to the forensics lab. Again, we're asking for additional personnel there to fill the Oxford office. We're asking for some new equipment, some other things there, some 3D crime scene imaging equipment, something called the Pharaoh that can really assist in analyzing crime scenes across the state. If you haven't seen the Pharaoh, it's a pretty impressive piece of equipment. It's basically a laser scanner that you can put in the middle of the room, and it can map this entire room where shell casings might have fallen, so that when you go to trial later, you have an accurate depiction of the entire scene. You can also use it doing autopsies. We've been doing some work with them on using it to basically do a 3D image scan of the body, so that instead of it ever having to be pulled back out for whatever reason might be required, you could actually have a 3D image of the body put back into place and a model made versus pulling the body out. Law Enforcement Training Academy.
Well, before you
Yes, sir.
move on, because this is coming from last year, you had HVAC repairs, Biloxi did. Last year we funded out of capital expense repairs for both. Did we, remind me where we ended up with that?
I can't remember, I
And
don't,
is this
we obviously didn't do
addition
Biloxi.
or, because we didn't do the Biloxi one?
We didn't do the Biloxi one. I know tried to use a lot of the ARPA money for those types of things. We did a lot at Malota. We did some in our other buildings. The issue with the HVAC at the Biloxi lab, one of which the aroma from the drugs that you do can be at times a bit overwhelming, as well as some of the things that you encounter with the in medical examiner's office there, and it's trying to make sure that.
Well,
it's
I
all
know we
working
were
together.
trying to last year and there was this one and the, I think, North Mississippi one that needed HVAC.
I think that's right.
Okay,
I know the one in Batesville needed it badly.
okay. I guess I think we wanted to, but it didn't make it.
Last
So,
session was
just
kind
a-
of crazy.
That's right. So, okay, thank you.
Training Academy, some basic requests there. I'll skip that one for now. The Driver Services Bureau and again, additional personnel trying to get to our new pay scale for the driver services. We just opened a new driver service station here in Jackson off State Street. And if you haven't been there, it's a really nice facility, but it also has a lease. We do a $50,000 lease annually for that facility. We're also looking at adding locations, new locations in Columbia, Senatobia, and I forgot what other, one other place might be, I think that might be the Jackson station, but we're looking at adding some new locations there. The biggest thing with the request that we have with driver services is our software is coming to end of life. And as you can see, that's a pretty large special fund request, and that's for the new upgraded driver's license system. 23 million we do, and we applied for and received a 7.5 million grant. The total cost is actually closer to 30 million, but this grant will help pay a large portion of that cost. So it is a real dire circumstance that we upgrade that software and get to a new vendor for the next 15, 20 years of our driver services program. Much with the support of Chairman DeBar. We did pass the driver's education program bill last year that requires every high school in Mississippi to offer driver's education, also requires in 2027 all drivers to have graduated from a driver's education curriculum. We've asked for $500,000 in support for that, for the implementation of the driver's education programs through the Department of Public Safety. We're also working on a bill that would provide additional special funds for the schools to make sure they have the resources to provide those classes. We are asking for 2 additional mobile driver service stations. I think there's about $100,000 a piece. Again, they can be deployed to underserved communities throughout the state. Homeland Security, our MBI, we're asking for additional salaries for pay increases there, as well as some new agents, some new crime scene unit individuals. One of the things that I absolutely saw traveling across the state, meeting with sheriffs and meeting with chiefs, it's often said in this capital that it shouldn't matter what your zip code is for getting a quality education. Every kid in Mississippi deserves a quality education. Well, it shouldn't matter what your zip code is either if you're a victim of a crime. And I know that, I've got children that are heading off to college soon. If they were to get in a wreck or they became a victim of a crime in a smaller county that might not have the law enforcement that we do in our larger counties, they're going to rely on the state more and more to provide that support. And I think that's why it's important that we look at MBI, because a lot of times they're called out to investigate cases that some of these smaller departments just can't do on their own. And we're asking for additional personnel to do that. And it's because we need to make sure that if there's a crime, there's also justice, even in these smaller communities. Capitol Police, again, additional salaries, trying to add 33 new law enforcement officers. The CCID lines were expanded, which presented a challenge for us, but in order to really meet those demands, we need those additional officers. MBN, again, vehicles, salary increases, CTED, pretty much the same. Public safety and planning, is one of those divisions at DPS that often gets overlooked and forgot. I didn't realize probably how important it was when I got there. There's millions and millions of dollars of federal grants that go out through the Department of Public Safety and Planning. There's a lot of oversight and audit that goes on with that, but that's also where we have the Board of Law Enforcement Officers Standards and Training. That board has never been more invigorated than it is right now. We have investigators trying to look into allegations involving law enforcement officers that shouldn't have a certificate. And I can tell you unequivocally that the greatest threat to good law enforcement is bad law enforcement. And that board needs these investigators to make sure that we don't have people out there with badges doing things that they shouldn't be doing. Homeland Security, again, we have a big
When-
request for software. Yes, sir.
When, the 33 new Capitol Police, what does that bring the total to?
We're at 144 now, so that would bring us to I think 87,
And the original goal was 218 there?
218.
Okay.
And, you know, I think it's 218 pins that we asked for, you know, knowing that you're rarely ever going to be full. I mean, people are going to come, people are going to go.
Yes, that's what I was going. I mean, the trend, you're showing the trend. I'm not saying
Right.
they're not worth it. I'm saying the trends, you get that, there may be a certain level
As long as y'all,
under the 218.
as long as you don't expand the district lines again,
I
and
got
I would
you.
ask that you not to. 'Cause it's-
And that is the legislatures.
Yes.
That is the legislature's responsibility or whatever. That's a result of us.
And I think Senator Hobson and I, myself, and have been in numerous meetings where we have felt that the district lines were probably good where they were, but the choice was made to expand those. And with that, there's a financial cost that comes along with it.
But the 33 takes you to 187. We got the trends. If it holds, we're doing that. So I can see the things there, but that makes sense.
To public safety and planning, Homeland Security, where again, we're asking for cyber software that helps protect all the state assets, not just ours. This recommendation was made by the commission that y'all put together, made up of a representative from the Attorney General's office, DPS's Cybersecurity Division, as well as ITS. Again, that's a special fund request. I'll finish. You'll see a picture of the headquarters on the next slide, the medical examiner's office in North Mississippi. That'll be online soon. The Starkville Troop G substation that y'all have funded, as well as our mobile driver service stations that we're utilizing. I do look at that new headquarters and I'm very, very proud of that because I do think for the first time in this agency's history, it's going to be a turning point when we have all our divisions operating under one roof. I do have legislation that we've requested this year that will, I think, change some of the structural things that we have at the Department of Public Safety. We have 11 different divisions. We just went through all of their budgets. I think we can have some consolidation that could help save administrative costs in a variety of ways. I can tell you, talking to Colonel Pitts and Liza Hammond, you know, we uncovered situations where each of our divisions were paying $25,000 a piece for software that if we purchased it together on a multi-divisional platform, it would have cost $25,000. And so I don't need MBN using one weapon and Highway Patrol using a different. We need to buy in bulk and we need to consolidate some of those things. We have different case management software for MBN and MBI. And those are all things I think we can save money on if we consolidate. And we do have a bill that would create a new State Bureau of Investigations. The goal would be to merge MBN, MBI, Homeland Security, the Crime Lab, and the Medical Examiner's Office, all underneath the State Bureau of Investigations. We might look at doing that with some of the other divisions too, so that we can again maximize our potential by having the collaboration, sharing of resources, and sharing of intelligence, and I think create a safer Mississippi and a Department of Public Safety that can better serve the citizens of the state.
Well, but on that note, I mean, it's reorganization and quote, smaller government, correct?
Yes.
And I mean, Lieutenant Governor Hoseman is, made it known this session, and has actually created the committee we have to look at those things. So it seems in line with where certainly the Senate is headed about more efficient government. And I think that's what you're saying is, I don't know what you call it, but if it's all under there, you can provide equipment and things like that at the best cost and keep everything the same, so to speak.
Yes, sir. And really importantly too, I think it also creates better public safety. But in the State Bureau of Investigation, the colonels at NBN and NBI came together with a plan to merge those things. And they met with the Director of Homeland Security. And what it also creates is the sharing of intelligence, more information. We had individuals that NBN might have been tracking that NBI had no idea, and they were looking at them in a different case. Now they'll be working together, sharing that information, sharing that intelligence, sharing intel analysts, instead of working in separate silos. As I look towards the future and Highway Patrol and CTED and even Capitol Police having more of a state patrol effort, because again, as I went across the state, and I'm confident that in 15 or 20 years, you're going to get in your car and leave Pascagoula. You'll probably still be here. You'll be the Tommy Galot of 2040. And you're going to say, drive me to Jackson, and your car is going to drive you. And so at that point, do we need the traffic enforcement that we have today in our law enforcement models? And maybe we do, maybe we don't. But I know this, what we're always going to have is bad guys. And I want the best of the good guys at DPS chasing those bad guys. And I think in order to meet the demands of these smaller communities that don't have police departments, I mean, I went to some cities that all they had was a part-time chief. If my child is a victim of a crime in that town, that chief isn't going to be able to do it on their own. They're going to have to rely on a state police, much like LSP, much like Alabama Law Enforcement Agency, much like what you see in Tennessee and the Georgia State Patrol, to help respond to those needs on the local level, particularly some of these rural and underserved areas. And we need the best of the best coming to DPS to fill that role. So.
Thank you. I think that was very good. Senator Hickman has a question.
Yeah, I just had a quick question because I was in and out. And first of all, thank you for all the work you do. I'm gonna have to run in a minute, but I wanted to be here for your presentation because I'm always impressed with what you're doing at the agency. You talked about the salary increases, particularly for troopers. Did you give like a percentage or what amount the request that you put in would take troopers up to, or whatever?
We take it up to 65. It's $11,000 pay increase is what we've requested. Again, that's our request.
Are troopers, do they get an increase after years, like, or?
Their pay scale is set out in statute. And so every 4 years, there is an increase set forth in the statute for longevity.
This would be, I get it's what you're asking for, but your pay raise, you're asking for it to be across the board to add a certain amount, not necessarily a percentage.
Yes.
To where troopers are. All right, thank you. I just want to go on record that I support any pay raise for troopers, by the way.
Thank you.
So I have a question on do you have a deficit request and particularly related to the headquarters? And I guess that's a certain furniture and stuff like that.
Yes, sir. We've ordered the furniture, so we're kind of on that, renter program layaway deal where you buy now, pay later. So we've ordered the furniture. They're installing it. We hope to be moving in late February, March, and hopefully completely over there by April. But yes, we've made a request for the furniture and the finish out, I think, of a couple of items over there.
How much?
3.5.
3.5 million?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
For furniture. That includes that's furniture and other
Yes.
things? Okay.
Yes.
Any other deficit? That's the only deficit
That's it.
request? Okay.
That's
Senator DeBar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner. The pay raise amount, does that include CTED, MBN, Capitol Police, MBI, all of that?
We did it across the board, trying to get them to scale. Yes.
Okay, and what's the average pay raise for each of those, or is it just, or
I think we did it 11,000 at each.
11,000? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. I don't see any more questions. So thank you very much for the agency and the officers and everybody's hard work. So appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman, if I could have just a moment of indulgence.
Sure.
I took this job in 2020. And obviously I had an opportunity to work with all of y'all when I was a senator and y'all we were all here together. I can retire later this year, and I imagine that's probably what I will do. This will probably be the last time I represent this agency at a budget hearing. And so I want to thank y'all for always hearing what we had to say. Your support of public safety, because the numbers that I highlighted, it's the men and women that got out there and did the job, deserve most of the credit, but also y'all's support and what y'all were able to provide over the last 5 years that allowed it to happen. And it's been the honor of my professional career to be in this position and hopefully be an advocate for law enforcement, not just at DPS, but across the whole state. And I want to thank y'all for your support and friendship. And I hope that will continue long after I'm gone from this department. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And since you brought that up, when you first came in, I remember working just in my capacity and all that. It's dating back to the driver's licenses and stuff. I mean, if people would look and see what you've done through your leadership and all that, and the hard work of your employees or your staff, it's been great. So didn't realize you were eligible for retirement, but having been in every agency in the state and branch, I'm not surprised. So thank you. And you've always come to, as far as I can remember, every budget hearing. And for an agency the size of yours, appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank y'all. And again, I'd like to thank my team. Most of them are here. These men and women have been great to work with. And I wouldn't have been able to do anything that we've accomplished without each and every one of them. Thank you.
All right. With that, we are adjourned. Appreciate everybody. Thank you.